You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have another episode lined up for y'all. Man, we're going to be talking to the artist Trev Yarash, and we're going to be learning everything that he's been doing. He's been doing some big things. I mean, he's been taking over radio in Arizona, making some hit songs, man. So we're going to learn a little bit about his story. But first and foremost, I want to welcome Trev to the show and say, how you doing, man?
Hey, good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So, man, before we talk about your hit songs, man, tell the audience a little bit how you got into music.
I would say, as my dad says, when I was born, I came out screaming. And it's kind of just been singing ever since. And I don't know, I kind of got into piano around first or second grade, just kind of learning songs by ear. Started learning chords and whatnot, I would say by like fifth grade, because, I was doing classical and I'm happy to learn that. But I would be, last minute being like, can you just play it through for me one time? And then I would be memorizing it by ear and then trying to do it by ear. So they ended up just getting me to somebody to teach me some chords and some blues and things like that. And from there, I kind of started just writing music in seventh grade and then recording by junior in high school. And then it kind of just has progressed, and kept progressing.
So you grew up in a small city, Flagstaff, out in Arizona, and you, like you said moments ago, you've been doing music since you came out the womb. What was the starting point when you said, you know what, this is something I can actually do as a career?
You know what, I would probably say, I don't know, it's been a mixture. When I was a little kid, I would say maybe second or third grade, we went to a concert, and the lineup, it was NSYNC, and we had Pink and Cisco were opening up for NSYNC. And that was the first moment that I'm like, I want to be on that stage doing that one day. I would say by seventh grade, I kind of started doing my first performances, and that's when I knew, like, I don't know, I've been zeroed in and focused on nothing but that since seventh grade. So, yeah. I mean, having dreams and experiences, it's just became consumed in it probably in seventh grade. But yeah, it's just been a real progression, I'd say that first concert that I went to was like, okay, that's what I want to do from a little age.
And even before seventh grade, you were into piano at age 5. Yeah. And you also, by 13, you were writing your own songs. So that process, did you have any mentors that kind of show you the ropes, or how did you navigate trying to make these choices? Like, man, I can really be in the industry.
Man, it was a mixture of, I'm a little bit of a black sheep in my family. I come from type A business owners. And then I'm the like little creative, flower child. And so, and even in school and stuff and whatnot, it wasn't like a cool thing to do music, at least in my city growing up, you know what I mean? Everybody, and I did sports too. I did basketball. I've done a lot of sports growing up, but I always found myself trying to just like ditch and go to the music room and just hang out on the piano and teach myself things from ear. We had to go through a couple different piano teachers because they'd be like, man, he's been practicing so hard. And they're like, nah, he hasn't been practicing. It's just kind of did it by ear. And so we kind of finally found somebody that could start teaching me different styles of music and chords. And they would, hey, come play with our band and whatnot. And so I'd be playing with bands and stuff when I was in like second or third grade, or doing performances even at church or things like that. So I would say probably my music teachers, my piano teachers, you know what I mean? Because they really exposed me to the performing aspect. And then once I was performing with them, I kind of got confidence because I was able to play with adults and whatnot. Then, when solos would happen and stuff in school or things, I would try out for those. So yeah, I would definitely say probably my music teacher, my piano teachers, they really believed in me.
When you got a little bit older, you got into playing the guitar as well. Now, did that kind of help you even further with your songwriting, or was that just another tool in the toolbox?
I've taught myself guitar. It's never like I got lessons or anything. It was kind of like piano, doing a lot by ear. I would just be moving my fingers around until I found something that sounded really good. Luckily, I knew piano, so I'd be able to figure out what chords I was playing. I played on the piano, like, oh, I'm actually playing like a, G minor seventh or something, and then so I kind of taught myself a little bit that way. I would say rhythmically it helped my style more, because on the piano I would bend towards either like R&B or blues or kind of even ballads and stuff. But when I was doing guitar, it was a lot more upbeat and rhythm, you know what I mean? So it kind of helped me change my style up a little bit. But yeah, I'm dominantly piano.
And once again, we're here at I Am Refocus Radio talking to Trev Yarash. You were discovered by two big producers, and that gave you a, I guess, trampoline to jumpstart another chapter. Who were the producers that discovered you, and how did that all take place?
My dad has a friend, and his son is the first one I got discovered by was Ross Robinson, and he's with Korn and Limp Bizkit and a bunch of 9 Inch Nails, stuff that wasn't quite my style, although I know he's ventured off and done a bunch of great other styles too. And I would say about maybe even just like a month later, what happened was back in MySpace days,
right?
I put up a little song of me just playing, just me and the keys, and it kind of started to get a little bit of traction as far as getting a bunch of different random people and followers and stuff from different regions. And one of them was Jeffrey David, and he's producer, writer, manager for Echo Smith, the cool kids. Wish that I could be like the cool kids. And so I got to start working with him and writing with him. And then now this, the song that we have now is co-written and co-produced with him. And then, I started, the demo kind of leaked and it hit a local station here, actually in Flagstaff, just a small town. And then it kind of went to the next station and the next station, the next station, and then down into the valley in Phoenix. And then the next thing you know, it was number 4 across all of Arizona radio. And so, that kind of just really jump started it from there, and that was a few years back. And then now we kind of finally just put out the official radio edit and did the music video for it, and decided to pay some tribute to that music video and kind of come back to these local spots in Arizona and shoot it, based off of some good memories, because I'm always going to write about true experiences. And so,
And it spread it to New Mexico, to Florida, Cali radio. So that was a great opportunity for you, not just get your name out, but just for people to be aware of you, because that's like the tricky part being in the industry, getting somebody to hear your music after you produced it and recorded it. How did that make you feel that people were able to hear that and new listeners were able to be exposed to your song so fast?
I would say the most exciting thing was I always feel like the purpose of music is to make movement, and to inspire, and to bring love, and to bring inspiration of sorts. Otherwise you're just making noise, you know what I mean? And so it's not so much like, oh, look at me, I'm on the radio. I think one of the biggest things that happened for me, impacts, was it was on the point where I was like driving in Phoenix. I was on 2 stations at once and whatnot, and I got an email from these girls, and they were like, hey, I got this girl, it'd be really cool if you can meet her. She's battling with leukemia, and I think at that time she was in high school, so I don't know her name, her age, but her name is Hope. And she said, man, I used to love your songs, and I'd be listening to your music, and it'd give me hope. And then when I found out, like, dang, you're from Arizona too, because she happened to be from Arizona, she's like, it gave me a whole new fight for life, and it made me really want to start saying, I got to get through this and make my dreams come true and do this. And now she's been to every single show. We've developed a really good friendship. We hang out and stuff like that. And to me, that's the purpose of music. It's a portal to just higher dimensions. You know what I mean? It can really spark life and really spark hope. And to me, I started seeing a lot of different situations like that happen. You know what I mean? Because I've always said I only want to make music so I can make impact and inspire. And to see the fruit of that happening right from the get-go, that was more inspiring, more motivating to me ever than, you know, being excited about hearing your song playing on multiple stations at the same time when you're flipping through, you know. Like that's always exciting too. But I would say hearing stories like that has been the most transformational for me.
How did you face challenges as you came across them on your journey in the industry?
You know, it's a industry of a lot of rejection, and at the end of the day, that's a good thing, because it really no one can believe in yourself more than yourself. You have to, you know what I mean? It's all no's until you get one yes, you know, and then even then you still got to go through hurdle after hurdle and speed bump after speed bump. You know, it can be a real slimy industry. But it's one of those things where you learn and you get better, and you learn and you get better, and you learn and you get better. Though, you know, my song was hitting, you know, radios and doing good, that was without promo or promotion or without a team. You know, I didn't have management, didn't have, you know, publicists, nothing, no marketing. It just kind of did its own thing. And so it's kind of like, well, what's next? You know, and I'm like, well, I got to get my next song. And then, okay, well, it costs this much. And you're like, well, I'm you know, barely making my bills, trying to pay this rent in LA and do this. And so it's a big juggle between, you know, living to survive out there and still progressing in your music and continuing not to lose that momentum. You know what I mean? And fighting for yourself when people are like, yeah, that's cool, but there's still lots of rejection. You got to fight for yourself. You know, I moved out from a small town to LA where I didn't have any connections. The connections that I did have, you know, with Jeffrey and them, their song was popping off, going multiple platinum all across the world. And so it's not like I was able to be under too many people's wing. I kind of moved out there not knowing anyone or anything and just threw myself out there. You know what I mean? And yeah, so it's just LA in itself is an incredible place where you lose and find yourself all at once. You know what I mean? So kind of just, yeah, going from a small town to that type of culture was a big adjustment. And in that, I taught myself how to produce because, all right, well, cool, what's next? Okay, I got to come up with the next song, but then it's so much money to produce, you know, and pay these other producers. So I ended up teaching myself how to produce, you know, on YouTube University. And the next thing you know, I started producing, and you're still out there as a struggling artist, but maintaining that momentum. You know, it's a lot of tests and a lot of trials, and not to mention, you know, finding yourself on a whole new level out in the city, you know. And it's been a huge progression, you know. Like I said, I learned how to produce mostly because I had a house fire back at home, and we had a 98% loss, and I lost all my music equipment. And one of the people I met out and about networking, his name was Brian London, and he's worked with Bruno Mars and Rihanna and Gaga and whatnot. He's their music director and whatnot. And he really got me lined up with producing. Once the house burned down, I just ended up taking the check for insurance rather than replacing the equipment. And he kind of helped mentor me into producing. And so then that opened up that whole new avenue. Then started working with other artists, helping produce their albums and whatnot. And then they got signed to Sony Records. And then, so then it's kind of just, you know, you're out there as a struggling artist. The next thing you know, you're a producer. The next thing you know, produce another artist. And then they get signed, and then you're working with them. And now you're producing your own records and still, you know, so it's kind of just, you have to be relentless and just keep on expanding and growing.
How important was that for you as an artist to understand, like, okay, I have to be in this for the long term, not just nice checks and benefits? How important was it to you as an artist that I have to stay committed to what I'm trying to do?
You know, I would say that's the core of it. And it's always been that for me. So, I mean, you know, when you're struggling with things and in high school and junior high and finding yourself and stuff like that, I would come home and my only outlet was to go straight to that piano. You know what I mean? Where some people, you know, they took it out on basketball, or they took it out on weights, or they took it out on studies or things. I took it out on piano. So it's always been my identity and my scapegoat, you know, and my outlet and whatnot. So it's one of those things where, you know, people think these artists are made overnight, and some of, you know, a couple of them, sure, you know, got picked up and boom, make it overnight. But the reality is these people are putting 5-10 years into this, and as much as you want, right, when that song's popping off and it's hit number 4 on, you know, the radio, it happened by mistake, but also intention. Like I said, it's always what I've always wanted, but I didn't even have my social media set up at that time, you know? So
right.
To have everything
is he on
set
MySpace
up.
still?
Yeah, right. And so it's kind of like, oh, you got to get that. And there's many hats. You got to be your own manager. You got to be your own publicist. You got to be your own marketer. You got to get out there. You got to be the artist. You got to be the performer. And now you're the producer and mixer and on the stuff on the projects. And so it has to be about the love. And then once it pops, you know what I mean? It's, people think it's overnight, but it's not. It's just a matter of, it has to be love, you know? And to me, it's kind of like, man, if music can get me through the stuff that I've been through, then that's what I want to do for other people with whatever they're going through. You know what I mean? Which kind of ties me back to like Hope as my example, how music really inspired her. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, that's the fuel, that's the magic, that's the secret sauce right there, is having your fuel and your motive and your why, your reason why, you know? So materialistic things come and go. You know what I mean? You could be happy with much, you could be happy with little. It's got to be about the love and about the music and about the impact, you know what I mean? And that's where the abundance has come from. That's where situations like the radio and the demo going off and, you know, struggling in LA. I remember, you know, drinking LA tap or dollar store cereal with LA tap water because I couldn't even afford milk, you know what I mean? So you're out there really struggling. And but I wrote some incredible songs about struggling in LA, and everyone in LA can relate to that. And there's a lot of people that are struggling with bills and trying to get by, you know? So it's just kind of like you find ways to transmute that energy instead of keeping it you know, on a low vibration and thinking, oh, I'm just struggling. Well, write a song about it. You know, and there's a lot of people that are struggling right now. And then all of a sudden, you know, you got that one song that everybody's relating to and listening to and bopping to, you know? So got to find ways to transmute all that energy and that struggle. And nothing's more rewarding than that, you know?
Once again, man, talking to Yarash and about his music journey. And I really like the story of all the many stories you gave, but definitely the one early in the show with Hope. And
yeah,
that's pretty awesome, because being able to have songs and music that has that kind of message where your fans become your friends and not just fans. How important is that for you too as an artist, where you meet just random people that end up being your friends?
Oh man, the most important. It's like I got friends, you know, from Brazil I've connected with through music. Some in Africa. When the song hit off in the UK, multiple friends in there, and it's amazing, especially in this digital age. It's really amazing how, like I said, it can start off in a little tiny little city up in the mountains in Arizona. Next thing you know, it's all of Arizona, and it's New Mexico, and it spread to Florida, and somebody in Florida got it to somebody in UK, and now we got friendships with people in UK and and then Brazil, and you're like, wow, you know what I mean? It's like, it really is, music is the universal language, and especially if it's connected to, you know, the source of love, you know what I mean? And not I feel like the music industry is so oversaturated right now on certain topics and things, you know what I mean? And I feel like now it's taking a shift where love is kind of starting to come back, you know what I mean? As the fuel. And that's where it's like, it's the love that impacted people like Hope and multiple people who have reached out to me, you know, saying, man, your music really got me through this time or that time. And that's why it's important to really only write about things that I'm really going through and struggling with. And that's why LA was so transformational, because you lose yourself and find yourself all at once. But look at all the things I've written about, you know what I mean? So, and how many people it touches. So that's the key. That's the most important fuel, is the impact. Otherwise, you're just making noise. You know, this world has enough noise.
Memories is something that we all get to have. And sometimes it's great and sometimes it's not so great. But the point is, you have them.
And, you know, I think every artist goes through these points where you feel like you just want to give up. And it's kind of like, wow, how unfulfilling was that to just kind of settle, even though I had other opportunities for good careers or for good things. The worst enemy of the right thing is a good thing. You know what I mean? So you got to really follow your heart and do what's right in your spirit and what's right in your heart. And it's those memories that you say, man, I overcame this. And I remember when I had my house fire, but I learned how to produce and made a diamond came out of that, all of that pressure. Or man, when I was, the story goes on, but it's those memories and those situations that have produced so many diamonds in my life. You know what I mean? And that's the true value. You know what I mean? And eventually that does translate into money and income. Eventually that does, so my dad always said, you throw enough crap on the wall, eventually some of it's going to stick. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. Just keep throwing stuff at the wall. Keep trying new things, do new things, keep evolving, and now it's like I've done shows or some, music for different TV shows and stuff that I got to be the artist and the producer on. But that would have never happened if I didn't, transmute all that energy from the loss and the house fire and things into becoming a producer, as well, and things like that. So, it's just like, man, you just can't give up. Just keep throwing enough stuff at the wall. Eventually some of it's going to stick. And then it starts to build and snowball and momentum. And then it can get to that place where you have the abundance materialistically. But by the time you get there, it's not even about that. You know what I mean? It's really about, like I said, the impact and the lives you touched and everything you've gone through. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once again, man, talking to Trev Yarash, talking about his music career, life story. For anything to take root, when you plant that seed, you got to work it, man. You can't just like plant it and walk away and be like, oh yeah, it's gonna just grow by itself. No, it's dedication. Even when you don't see the growth, it's still taking root. It's still developing behind the scenes, under construction, because no one is seeing the blood, sweat, and tears. But like you say, you throw enough crap on the wall, it starts turning to art, and before you know it, it turns to something that's genius, because now people can relate to it.
Right. I seen this this meme, here I'm gonna throw a cheesy little inspirational meme out there, but it kind of resonated on the same topic. But it says, like, as high as my branches reach up to heaven is as deep as your roots reach down to hell. And it's kind of like, man, it's really is like an hourglass that you can flip. It's like you got to, like you said, root yourself, and you're going through those hard times and you're doing this and do this. If you see a big old tree, well, its roots are going deep. You know what I mean? It's gone through some things, and everyone just wants to look at this beautiful tree and all the fruit on it. But like you said, it takes seasons. There's fall, winter, spring, summer, dry seasons, and it's about the consistency.
Hey, that's good right there. I hate to cut you off, but that's good. I had to jump in and say what you said about the seasons, man. Like, dang, I didn't know Trev can preach, man. But what you said about the seasons, you don't see that same tree the same way. It's different stages, man.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I hate to throw Disney in here, Lion King, but when Simba was growing up, man, he was in different seasons. Right. That's by Jupiter left field, but I'm going. Right. But just metaphor, just as a metaphor, what I'm trying to say is, in your life, you're developing in different seasons, and the later years are not going to look the same as the beginning. Because the beginning, you're just getting started. But throughout life, you're hopefully maturing and growing at some point, right? I mean, we're all guilty of that. But at the end of your life, you ought to be like a tree and look back, and hopefully you're providing some shade for the next generation.
Ooh, just got chills. Yeah, that's exactly what it's about, man. And I had this guy come up to me one time, and it was kind of a supernatural experience. And he kind of was like, do you do music? And I'm like, yeah. It's a complete stranger. And he goes, I don't know, I just have this word. And he's like, I feel like your music, he goes, I saw like a green dot in your chest. And he goes, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as I focused on it, I realized it was a seed. And he goes, and then that seed I realized was planted. And he goes, over the long span of time, it became this massive tree, and it kind of curved off to the left. And he said, and many will find shelter and rest under the shade of your tree. Wow. And things like that. And I was like, wow. So when you just said that, you gave me some chills, because I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? This guy didn't even know I did music, but he saw this and he knew it was associated with music. And like you said, you got to go through these seasons and these times. And like I said, you know, the branches may reach up to heaven, but it's because the roots have gone down to hell. And now many can find rest or shelter or fruit or provision under those branches. And that is the purpose of it. You know what I mean? So that's the longevity of it.
As we wrap this up, how can people support your music?
Trev's the One, TREVSTHE #1. That's Instagram, you know, TikTok, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Trev's the One. And there it's just like, man, it's all about connecting and building relationships. So, you know, slide in the DMs and building relationships with my followers is the most important thing. And hopefully if my music resonates with you, you know, on Spotify and Instagram, give a follow, give shout outs, any things like that. You have no idea, just one share. Like I said, it's just one share on MySpace that got me connected with Jeffrey, and then that got that demo on the radio, and then that radio got me to LA, and then, you know, so it's just one share can change someone's life and things like that. So think about that with these artists that you support, and you want to really support their journey or their story. You know what I mean? Share their stuff, help them get words out. You know,
talking to Trev Yarash and his music career, his life. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule talking to I Am Refocused Radio.
Well, I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you for taking time out, you guys, and man, just spreading the good vibes to everybody. You know, I appreciate you so much. Thank you.